Hello and welcome back to the Society Knits YouTube channel. My name is Sally. I am the creator, maker and owner of Society Knits, an online yarn and fibre store specialising in Australian yarn and fibre. Before I get stuck into talking about all of my exciting things I've been working on, including a couple of finished objects, I would just like to first pay my respects to the traditional owners of the land on which I'm filming today, the Wiradjuri people. And I pay my respects to the traditional owners of the lands where you're joining me from as well. So, it has been 2 weeks and we're now at the end of July 25 and winter is really kicking in. We've had short days, cold days, plenty of winter weather, and I've really been leaning into just yearning for lovely knits. So let me introduce you to a couple of finished objects. The first one is what I'm wearing. So this is my caramel sweater by Petite Knit, done in the beautiful Australian yarn by Natural Fibre Arts on their soft rolling skin or SRS DK merino base in the colour charcoal. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll have seen that this piece really took me by surprise. I had spoken in the last episode about how this was affectionately called the weird fade sweater because of some dye lot issues, and I won't go into that today because I actually think this is a wonderful sweater. I really love that it's found its redemption arc by kind of persevering and getting it to be a finished object. So really glad it's off the needles, really glad that I chose to embrace the sort of qualms I had, I guess, and focused on what I did love in order to actually get the project finished, and no regrets now. So as all of the things that I try and discuss on my channel, particularly if you're new here, I either like to have an Australian yarn base, Australian designer as part of the project, or if possible both. So Natural Fibre Arts was the lovely dyer of this one, and the colourway is charcoal. I used 450 grams of that DK base with the recommended needles for the pattern, and I'm pretty happy with the fit. I didn't do many modifications. The main thing that I found really awkward was when doing the short row shaping around the neck, they wanted you to do increases with on the pearl side, and I found it really awkward, so I just switched them around to the knit side. That was really the only thing I did. I used the recommended kind of lengths and things, and if I were to make it again, I think that I might make it a smidge longer just because I am a millennial and I like everything covered. But otherwise this is just a gorgeous fit, really comfortable. I don't want to take it off. It's an incredible base. If you get the chance to use the DK SRS merino base in any kind of Dyers offerings, treat yourself. Even if it's one skein for a small shawl or a cowl or something, it would just be absolutely magical to work with. So yes, I'm very glad this is off the needles and that I can enjoy it. The only downside, embracing imperfections and all, is because it is so soft and just so lovely, it is already starting to peel. I'm a little unusual in that really doesn't bother me. I don't mind tidying things up. I don't mind having to remove those little tiny felt balls, because I think for me it just reflects how lovely and soft and beautiful the garment is that I've been wearing. yeah, I think I'm probably a little bit unique in that respect, but anyway. So yes, this is the caramel sweater. Highly recommend this pattern. Beautiful, just simple knit that I think highlights you know, a lovely variegated yarn. So I mentioned that I've actually got 2 finished objects. The other one I hadn't cast on last time, but I was just really itching for some more garter stitch, just really mindless knitting, because I've currently got 2 half fisherman's rib projects on the go, and they're just a lot on my hands and my brain. Not to say that they aren't, you know, beautiful, they're just a lot. So I needed a little break. So I cast on the Snaggletooth shawl. So this is a lovely sort of mini shawl, very like, you know, your Sophie scarves type thing. The Snaggletooth shawl is a pattern by Ambah, who's an Australian designer, prolific designer, has amazing things, and this is the first pattern of hers that I've actually been able to finish and be happy with. I think her designs are incredible, and I want to make all of the things, but then when I get into the pattern, my brain just doesn't click with her style of pattern writing, and I don't know why. It's clear. She gives you a nice little mini rundown of these are the things you will do, but I think there's, within the pattern, there's a lot of do this section, which will just be a one-liner, but then that section is kind of a whole series of steps, and so I don't think my brain likes to kind of flit across different things, even if it's simple. So I think the reason this was successful is once you get through the kind of cast on with the 2 colors and it's all a little fiddly, it's then charted, and it's very intuitive, and you can very much just use the amount of yarn that you've got, get to halfway and then decrease. So it's really lovely, a perfect scrappy yarn project. And you might be thinking, Sally, I have seen this yarn before. You are right, dear viewer. This is the black wattle yarn, which is the alpaca base that I am a bit allergic to, but this is going to be a gift, so I just powered through again. The acacia base, so a DK weight, beautiful drapey, perfect for shawls yarn, in the colours paper bark and bliss. So I used a total of 90 grams. So I think I used about 75 for the main colour, and sort of, yeah, 15-ish for the contrast colour, which is pretty amazing. The first version of this that I fell in love with is actually from the maker behind Skip Rope Yarn Co, who I stock. Cass did a really beautiful one where she did a really gorgeous solid main colour and had the contrast colour as a real pop and feature. The pattern shows you how to do it in fingering weight in DK, how to use minis, how to have the kind of main component as a feature, and then the little contrast colours as a bit more of a subtle feature. And it was just a lovely, simple garter stitch knit, and I just really enjoyed it, with a perfect I-cord edge. So I think if you're looking for an Australian version of the Sophie shawl / scarf, give this one a go, and it's going to be perfect for your scraps. I think it would also be perfect if you had a special skein of something, either in fingering, DK. Really the gauge doesn't matter so much, because you can very much manipulate things with how much yarn you've got, because it's a simple increase then decrease. But if you had that one special skein you didn't really know what to use with and just some kind of leftovers or even a mini for the contrast, this would be a perfect project. So there we are. That is my very unexpected Snaggletooth shawl by Ambah O'Brien. And I'm going to put it away before I get any more congested, but this will be another gift knit. Now onto the whips. I have been whipping. I have been busy. I've been slogging away at my EXP, which I will show you in a moment, because I am still keeping it going in the background, but the rows along, I finally moved through the main part of the increases, so the increases aren't so much, but it's still a lot of knitting. My hands get a bit crampy, and it's not something that you can just kind of throw in your bag and do on the go. I kind of have to be sitting down and concentrating and keeping track. So I thought I'd just give you a little flash of where I'm up to, just so you can appreciate the colour changes. So the yellow marker again is where I was last time, so I haven't made heaps of progress, but it's still really beautiful. Let's see if we can get a better, there we go, a better idea of the fade. Kind of, you can really see that rosy pink coming through there now. So if this is the first time you're joining me, this is the EXP by Sanna and Co, which is a just incredible experimental designed kind of bat wing sweater, which is a real process knit. So I am enjoying it. It's taking its time and it will take as long as it takes. I'm using lovely Polworth yarn in the bronze colour for the kind of base colour, and then a white to goldy pink fade set, all by Louis and Lola for the contrast colour. So I'll just keep slogging away and I'll see how far I get. I'm not putting too much pressure on myself with this one. I mentioned that I've actually got two half fisherman rib patterns on the go, and that is because I did cast on with my hand spun the Jiellah sweater, Jiellah cardigan, also by Sanna and Co. Now, I've mentioned previously the reason that I decided to start this YouTube channel was because I really enjoyed watching other people's YouTube and finding out what projects they're using, how they use different yarns, you know, and an exploration of things that work or don't, or new designers to them. And so I am not one to do things by halves. And so if I find your knitting channel and I like it, I am going to do a deep dive and watch all of your episodes from the beginning. So the current person I'm really enjoying watching, and I'll link it in the description below, is Elsa from We Are Wool People. She has an Australian knitting channel on YouTube, and I think is just the definition of a larrikin. She's hilarious. If you understand Australian humour, of course. But I've actually met Elsa in real life. I met her a couple of times at the Australian Yarn Show, and she's wonderful. Anyway, the reason I bring up her podcast or knitting channel or whatever we're calling these days is that she has been doing the judging at the Ardelethen show, and that is a small agricultural show which is not too far from where I am in Wagga, New South Wales. Agricultural shows are great fun for the communities. They showcase all aspects of agricultural life, from, you know, livestock to fun things with, you know, machinery, and kids classwork and handcrafts and cooking. Like it's really quite diverse, and it's a tiny miniature scale of what goes into kind of, you know, the Sydney Royal Easter Show. But one of the things she was saying is, please consider, you know, entering into your local show, because what is reflected these days is not really a reflection of modern knitting. And I couldn't agree more with her. I entered into my local show last year, and I was surprised. I did very well. I got 2 champion ribbons, which blew me away, and absolutely motivated me to make sure I got my schedule sorted so I could get some pieces in the show this year. But I think that the kind of categories are still very much designed around much more traditional and perhaps dated kind of things that you'd knit. For example, knitted coat hangers and 3-piece sort of baby sets and that kind of thing, and not necessarily showcasing or able to highlight some of the really cool and unusual and technical challenges that people are exploring these days. So if you are in Australia and you are in a town that hosts a local agricultural show, have a look, see if you can enter some things and just share what knitting has become for you. So I digress a little bit. I'll get off my soapbox now, but going back to why I cast on my Jiellah cardigan is because I'd really like to get this into the local show, and I knew that if I had to hand spin and then knit, it was going to be quite a process, so I had to get zooming away. So let me show her to you so far. So the fibre I'm using is incredibly soft Corriedale, hand dyed by Caitlin from Handmade by Catkin, and she is a yarn and fibre dyer in Canberra, and I was very lucky to be a stall or 2 away from her at the Australian Yarn Show this year and last year. So it was great to be able to support another small business, and particularly someone who is so lovely. So I have spun up, I think 400 grams so far. Still got plenty to go, and just loving seeing how these colours are turning out. So this is her so far. So it's knitted from the bottom up. So you do a twisted rib, as you can see, twisted rib, little band, and then you do a syncopated half fisherman's rib. And what that means is, let's see if we can remove my head out of the situation. You can kind of see that they're just stacked, alternating. But Susanna's attention to detail is so meticulous that not only is the main body part syncopated, so, you know, stacked kind of alternating, but the twisted rib is as well. Like, amazing, just beautiful. So I have done kind of the bottom bit, and I've just started the first side where I'm dividing for the armholes. So just there is where the armhole is, and then I'm just working on this little pattern bit here. And so you've got splashes of green and pink, and it's very forgiving for my very uneven hand spinning, and I just love it. I just love it. So I will keep you updated. I have a decent ball to go still, and I feel like I should go pretty close to getting the body done. I imagine I'm going to have to spin some more for the sleeves, and I think that will be to my advantage because I can then manipulate the colour a little bit so that the repeats aren't quite so long and bandy. It'll be a bit more broken up. So hopefully I can show some progress next time and have it well and truly done for the show. Now, with more things on my mind in terms of the show, and because we had a little bit of a disaster in the house, hence the pink lipstick to pretend that I'm fine. We just had a blocked toilet. It's fine. We are very lucky in that we have 2 toilets. But now we have 1 toilet and we have mud all over the bathroom. My husband very kindly offered to clean up the mud. Very grateful, very grateful. But then he used my blocking bucket because it had a really good sieve. And didn't understand why that upset me, that there was now mud in my blocking bucket. Anyway, so I needed some colour and dopamine in my life, not only with the pink lipstick, but with my knitting. So my next thing that I was going to do after the success of the Snaggletooth shawl, I wanted to give another Ambah O'Brien pattern a go. And I am hoping that if I just keep exposing myself, my brain will get used to her structure. Anyway, I'm figuring it out as I go. So let me introduce you to the Fruit Tingle shawl. So here we have my little tiny Fruit Tingle shawl. Isn't she cute? Oh, I like the colours even more on the screen. So this is again a lovely garter stitch shawl. So you've got these garter stitch bands and it's all about the sort of gentle increases. So you've got some increases up the center and then you'll just have the continual sort of edge increases that are then broken up by the fruit tingles. So fruit tingles are a kind of hard, sherbety, fizzy sweet. And this is her interpretation. There are some stunning projects on Ravelry for this shawl, and I have gone through so many thoughts on how to do the color combinations to the point where I might end up doing a couple of these because I think it's going to be a really just enjoyable potato chippy mindless knit with a little bit of interest when you get to these cute little sort of fantail things, which I think would work really well in even a fade. Now you might be thinking, Sally, I've seen those colours before, where did I see them? Well, that might be because you've been watching since episode 1. Back in episode 1 I talked about my plans for lots of my different kind of stashed away yarn, and obviously the lovely caramel sweater was one of them and is now a finished object. But I also spoke about how I had some fingering weight or 4-ply of the SRS merino from Natural Fibre Arts as well, that I was going to do a striped sweater by Andrea Mowry. I cast that on and I didn't love it. The pattern was great. And I do think I will make it eventually. But it wasn't until I kind of got a feel for the yarn that, if anything, it almost felt like a light fingering. The pattern for the stripes sweater calls for a sport weight. Having said that, I feel like the yarn gauge, which was 21.5 centimeters, that's almost a DK-ish weight for me, sort of weight gauge. And so my thinking was that if the fingering weight behaved like this DK, it would really plump up and kind of expand. But I just felt after I'd been knitting it for a little bit that it was just too gappy, and I didn't want sort of a too light and airy-fairy kind of piece. So I abandoned that and cast this on instead. So This I think is a much better option. I'm going to alternate the colours. So I do have 4 colours in this yarn base, but I think I'm just going to use 3 and then just keep alternating them, so you kind of get a nice little spread of kind of feature of each of the colours. This beautiful denim blue is called Ming. The yellow is so aptly named. It is a gorgeous sunflower. And the pink is Amaranth Pink. So I think this will be lovely. I am also hoping to get this into the show, and I'm hoping that a little bit of a sort of time deadline accountability will help make sure I get these in. I've still got plenty of time, and given I only started this last night, I should be okay unless I get distracted by anything else, which is always possible. Anyway, so that is the current mischief. I have to say, number one, thank you for watching for this long. Thank you for those who shopped the Bendigo sale. I was sad I wasn't at the Bendigo show, but that's okay. I'm still enjoying knitting and yarn, and there will be another time, I'm sure. But I've noticed that there are so many new faces, and I'm just ecstatic that there are so many faces from the United States and from the UK. I am just absolutely blown away that people are interested in seeing what I'm doing, and my love for Australian yarn and fibre. So thank you for viewing. Thank you for commenting and liking and subscribing. It really does mean the world to me, and it really helps to encourage me to keep doing this, keep sharing all of the lovely things. So thank you, and happy knitting until next time.